Welcome back, Killers of the Floor. So this is the continuation of my basics series on killing Floor 2. If you're having issues with killing multiple Zeds with a spade, then look no further, because today I'm going to be talking about the Beserker. Okay, cool, so the Beserker, the manliest class. This class is really fun to play. It's a bit more technical than the other classes, just in the fact you've got a few more inputs to deal with, and I'm just going to talk about them now for my first tip. So let's start off with the fact that a left click gives you a light attack, right click gives you a heavy attack. That's the basics. What you also want to pay attention to is the direction you're holding when you do a light or heavy attack. If you're holding left or right when you attack, you'll do a left or right swing. And if you hold forward, you'll do an overhead, and if you hold backwards, you'll do an uppercut. So the direction you're heading when you initiate the attack affects which direction you swing in. Now, the uppercuts and the overheads are very powerful, and the left-rights are very wide swinging, so it's very easy to hit targets, and it's very easy to hit a lot of targets with those ones. So the left-rights are for crowd control, and the overheads and uppercuts are for damage. So basically, you want to be using the left-right for the trash mobs, and you want to be using the overheads and the uppercuts for the bigger Zeds. So there's the basics. The middle click on the mouse is going to give you a parry or a block. What happens is when you hold it down, he'll throw up the weapon, which will parry, and then he'll hold it there to sort of reduce incoming damage. But ideally you want to use it for the parry, so when something comes into attack, you throw up the weapon at the same time, and it'll knock their attack away, stumbling them, and then allowing you to go in for a counter-attack or whatever you want to do to them. Additionally, you can use the melee button. Now that's V by default, so I'm talking the button that you use for pistol whipping and rifle butting people. You can use that with melee weapons as well, and it gives you an additional attack to work with. Generally, I don't use that for any weapon other than the Zweihander and the Eviscerator, actually, because you can use it with the Eviscerator just to do a quick stab, and it doesn't use any gas. But yeah, you can use that with the Zweihander to give a stabbing attack, which gives you a little bit more variation with the weapons. But the other melee weapons, that melee attack doesn't matter. Just use your lights, your heavies, and the parries. Okay, so my second tip, and this is going to be one of the tips that ties in with any class, and that is to go for headshots. I mean, well, generally with any of the perks, it's either going to be headshots or foot shots, and the Beserker is absolutely one of the classes where you want to be going for headshots to get that extra damage. So again, tying into the previous tip as well, the developers have done such a good job of making it visceral, because they've made the animations line up with what you're hitting in front of you perfectly. So literally what you want to be doing is making sure that the animation of your swing of whatever weapon you happen to be using contacts their head, and if it does, then their head's going to take damage. It's really simple, it works really well. So just when you buy a weapon, just get used to just swinging it, swinging with the overheads, the uppercuts and the side to sides, and just make sure you can line up those swings with the Zed's head, and it's going to take it off. Now, that's not necessarily an easy thing, because as you're the melee class and you're getting in close, you'll find that a lot of the Zeds start to get pretty mental when they get close to you. They're diving at you with attacks, all that kind of stuff. So getting headshots isn't always the easiest thing. But if you can get a headshot, absolutely go for the headshot. And, you know, especially with the trash mobs, you're going to be one-shotting them pretty much all day long. With the slightly bigger Zeds, you just want to be using that heavy attack. Again, go for the overhead, make sure it lands on their head, and more often than not, you're going to kill them with the first hit, unless it's, you know, a Scrake or a Fleshbound. So yeah, going into more detail about the light swings and the heavy swings with the Beserker, generally you can just use the light swings for the trash mobs. If you get a headshot on a trash mob, and by trash mob I'm talking about all of the smaller enemies really, and that's the Clots, the Slashers, Gorefast, Stalkers, and even the Crawlers. Although obviously trying to line up the Crawlers with the guys that are standing is pretty much impossible. But yeah, pretty much all the small guys, you can take their heads off with one swing, just with a light swing, even with the Crovel, just the Crovel. And you start off with the Crovel, there's no need to use the Lawnmower Blade. I don't even know why he has a Lawnmower Blade. I guess just so he has a weapon in case you sell the Crovel or whatever. But yeah, you can headshot the light mobs nice and easy, and it'll take him out in one swing. Sirens and Husks do have a lot more hit points, so you want to be going for the overhead heavy attacks. If you line it up perfectly, you can take out Sirens in one hit. I think that kind of depends actually on how many players you've got on the server. if it's a full 6-man server, then I think it probably takes 2 hits to take out the Sirens and the Husks. But if you've only got 3 or 4 people on, then you're going to be able to take them out in 1 hit on a normal server anyway. And I think I'm level 10 when I record it. So there's a little bit of hit point consideration to take into account there, but generally just go for that heavy overhead swing on the Sirens and the Husks, so you have more health, and you should be able to take them out pretty damn quick. You can go for the light swings, but you'll have to hit them in the face quite a few times to take it off. That is incredibly brutal though. You'll probably see in the video where I'm just swinging like an absolute madman and you're just cleaving skin off people's faces. Absolutely brutal game. Right, so 4th tip, weapon selection. Weapon selection is pretty simple with the Beserker. You just want to be leveling up. So you'll start off with the Crovel, and as soon as you have enough money, it's 1200 for the Pulverizer, then go for the Pulverizer, and it's just a straight upgrade. It swings a bit slower than the Crovel, but it does a hell of a lot more damage, and once you've got it, you don't need to use the Crovel at any point. The Crovel is a bit quicker, but there's no real need, because if you just get the swings correct, you're going to be sweeping out everything anyway, so you can sell your Crovel as soon as you buy the Pulverizer, reduce your weight, and keep your speed up, because speed is quite important when you want to be jumping in and out of combat willy-nilly, which is obviously important if you want to stop taking too much damage and you want a medic to get you back up to health. That's a good point actually. Don't face tank everything. If you're taking damage, just get out of there. Things are going to follow you. Keep swinging. You'll be able to take out one enemy at a time and, you know, really mitigate or slow down the damage that you're taking. So yeah, upgrade to the Pulverizer. If anyone on your server has the Zweihander, or they have Chivalry and they have the Zweihander, then you can use the Zweihander too. I'd say go for the Zweihander. It's cheaper. It seems to have more reach, does more damage. It's basically a better weapon. The advantage of the Pulverizer is its secondary attack, or its heavy attack. It lands, it like pops out a charge on impact, because you can load, like, they're like shotgun shells, but it does an explosive attack which takes out a big group of enemies. So that is really handy. It means you can just basically get in close and pretty much do like a grenade launcher explosion on your opponents. It's maybe not that big, but you can take out big groups of opponents very quickly. So the Pulverizer is handy, and it's very powerful against the big Zeds as well, but generally the Zweihander does everything, and it kind of does it a little bit better and a bit easier really, because you can just do big swings with the Zweihander and take out multiple opponents anyway. So it's kind of up to you if you want to go for the Zweihander or the Pulverizer, but the Zweihander is generally considered a little bit easier to use and just a little bit more powerful really. So yeah. The other kind of weird weapons that the Beserker also has is the nail gun. Now the nail gun is interesting. It's pretty much just like an extra powerful pistol with penetration as well, and you can switch it into a shotgun mode. So you can either fire single nails or you can fire 7 nails at a time. It's got a capacity of 42, so it's got a pretty good ammo capacity. It's kind of strange to be using a ranged weapon as the Beserker, but by all means, you know, if you want to use a ranged weapon, then you can use it. It's got high penetration, fairly good damage, but it's kind of useless in comparison to using your melee weapons and just getting up and close. But if you want that ranged option, then you know you can get a hold of the nail gun. The final weapon you can get for the Beserker is the Eviscerator, which is a pretty gnarly looking weapon, but it's kind of yeah, it's hit and miss. It deals out disgusting amounts of damage, so I find that it's useful for Hans, and I mean, maybe you can use it on the large Zeds. It's an interesting weapon. The right click gives you kind of like a chainsaw mode where you're just up close, spinning around the blade and just chewing things up, doing loads of damage. The primary fire actually shoots out a saw blade, which cuts through Zeds pretty effectively. It's high damage. You can use these saw blades on the big Zeds, Scrakes and Flesh Pounds, and it does do quite good damage, but it doesn't do as good damage as getting a headshot with the Pulverizer or with the Zweihander repeatedly. So yeah, generally I just use it for Hans because it deals out so much damage so quickly, but it does run out of fuel in a relatively quick amount of time. And it's just kind of, yeah, I don't know, you're better off using the standard melee weapons. What I would say with the Eviscerator, when you're using it, if you use the standard melee attack that I was talking about where the Zweihander does the stab, with the Eviscerator, you'll kind of stab at the enemy with it, so that'll save on gas, because that'll still one-shot most of the trash mobs. So that's a useful thing to bear in mind. Alright, fifth and final tip. So generally what I do with the fifth tip is just talk about how to handle the large Zeds in the boss. So with the large Zeds, effectively what you want to be doing is just alternating between heavy overhead or uppercut attacks and parries. So the big Zeds, the Flesh Pounds and the Scrakes, they tend to be docile until provoked. The Flesh Pounds less so because they do randomly rage, but basically whilst they're in their docile state, you've got a free swing at them. So you just want to step up, go for the overhead swing, smash them in the face, get a headshot. With the Zweihander, you can use the V attack, that stabbing motion. That's going to stumble them as well. And it's very easy to aim at the head of a Scrake or a Flesh Pound. So you can go for the stabbing motion with the Zweihander. But I mean, the overhead does, as far as I know, the same amount of damage anyway. So yeah, go for that overhead attack, go for that stabbing attack, stumble them. Then you've got an option of, you can either wait for them to attack you and intentionally parry them as they attack and then counter attack, or you can just pretty much continue to use heavy attacks and just try and keep hitting them in the face, because every now and again you're going to stumble them and it's going to reduce the damage you're taking. Ideally you want your teammates to be attacking as well, so what I normally do when I see a large Zed is I hold Z, flip over to the request help chat thing, and your character's going to shout out for help. If you do that every time you see a big Zed, your teammates are going to learn to associate you shouting request help with a large Zed coming, so generally everyone's going to switch around and help you out. So yeah, request help, get in there with the overheads, stumble them, parry if you need to. Parrying is quite hard, you need to learn how the enemy's animation attacks work, but when you have learnt them, parries can be absolutely vital, especially if you're taking a lot of damage.
What I should also mention is the EMP grenades that the Beserker has are very useful at dealing with the large Zeds, because they stop them from raging and they kind of make them more docile for a longer period of time. So yeah, definitely utilise the EMP grenades at the beginning of a fight, and it should also make the whole experience a bit easier.
Now with Hans, the boss, I recommend just using the Eviscerator. It's pretty much easy mode. The Eviscerator pumps out a lot of damage, and Hans, you just want to be doing loads of damage to him as quick as possible. So buy an Eviscerator. What I'd say is buy 2 Eviscerators. Buy one, drop it, buy another one. Make sure you fuel them up and give them full ammo before you drop them. And then basically you've got a huge ammo storage for taking out Hans. And then what you want to do is just run in and just keep buzzing him. Do as much damage as you can. If he focuses on you and starts using his melee attacks, at that point I would say get away from him, because he does a huge amount of damage. Not so much in the normal difficulty, but in hard difficulty, and I'm sure in higher difficulties he does a huge amount of damage in melee. So as soon as he focuses on you, you want to run away. He's probably going to get a few more attacks on you, but then hopefully what's going to happen is he's going to aggro onto someone else, and then you can get in and start attacking him again.
Getting away from Hans in a big open space is incredibly hard, so you want to find an area to fight Hans where there's pillars and stuff that you can get behind as well.
All that means is the damage on you is going to be lower over time, and it's going to give your medics an easier time of keeping you alive, and ultimately you're all going to be able to do more damage to Hans over time. So yeah, get in there with the close range, just buzz away at him, run away if he focuses on you. When you're running back to him, obviously you can fire saw blades at him. Maybe when he's throwing grenades or doing something running away from you, you can use the saw blades to do a bit of extra damage from range, and then just keep buzzing him. Obviously if your Eviscerator runs out of fuel, drop it, grab the other one, keep going for it, and 2 Eviscerators should be enough really to finish him off.
Who's this big chap? There he is! You sick bastard! Grenade! Back in poison! New mag, give me a sec. How's that? Ready to kill?
Kill up, man.
Good job! You know you want some.